The long-awaited, much-anticipated conference championships are finally arrived. Green Bay at Chicago, Pittsburgh hosting the New York Jets, but history tells us we shouldn't expect a close game today in either one of these contests, perhaps, because since the old AFL merged with the NFL back in 1970, 47.5% of the games played, 38 out of the 80 conference championship games since 1970 have been decided by 14 points or more. In fact, 66% of those games, 53 of those 80 contests, have been decided by double digits. Hi everyone, Al DeMarco here, and this is going to be your Sunday NFL video report, as I'm going to break down both of your games for you, as I do every single day here for free on the Daily Video Reports. A couple more things to talk about in terms of the history of the postseason in this conference championship round before I get to your free picks today. So far here in the postseason, we've had 8 games played, 5 dogs have won so far. Now, over the years, home favorites, well, they've done pretty darn well. 11 games over 500, 37, 26, and 2. Once again, dating back to 1970 against the odds makers, 11 games over 500. Home teams overall, 45, 33, and 2 versus the odds makers, 12 games over 500. But let's break it down a little further. Favorites of 1 to 3 points, 12 and 9 against the spread over these years. Favorites of 3.5 to 6.5 points, 12, 13, and 2 versus the odds makers. 1 game under 500, and of course we've got 2 3.5-point chalks today. FYI, in terms of the totals, 7 of the last 8 games over the past 4 years have skied over the posted price. Now, last week, of course, I had 3 out of 4 free picks here with your division round playoff selections. Let's get to your first free pick today as I break down the Green Bay Chicago contest. Now, of course, these two met twice during the regular season. In the first game back in week number 3, the Bears prevailed at home 20-17 as a 3-point dog. Just a miserable game for the Packers that day as they imploded. Team record 18 penalties in that contest. I think the officials threw more yellow flags than Jay Cutler completed passes that day. I mean, it was just a horrendous performance. Special teams breakdown as well for Green Bay in that one as Devin Hester returned a punt for a touchdown late in that contest to seal it for Chicago. Now, in the rematch, the regular season finale a couple weeks ago at Lambeau Field, it was a must-win situation for the Packers in terms of making the playoffs, and they did deliver with a 10-3 triumph, coming nowhere close to covering the 11-point spread. Remember, that was the game that many anticipated Lovie Smith would give his regulars the day off, but in fact, Lovie played them the entire contest and really gave the Packers a battle for their life in that one, even though the game had no meaning for the Bears. Now, Lovie Smith, since he arrived in the Windy City, is 8-6 straight up, 7-6-1 against the spread. But let's look at how Aaron Rodgers has done against Chicago, because he is the linchpin of this analysis. Rodgers, 4-2 straight up and against the spread versus the Bears. All 6 of those games, FYI, have stayed under the posted price. 5 of those 6 games have been decided by a margin of 7 points or less. Now, this year in 2 starts against the Bears, Rodgers completed 73% of his passes, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, was sacked 2 times. How did Jay Cutler do against Green Bay in those games? 56% completions, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, 9 sacks. Big surprise. He was sacked 9 times. I mean, listen, the Bears quarterbacks have been sacked 59 times this year in 16 regular season games combined with their 1 playoff outing against the Seahawks. 59 times. Now, that's not to say that Green Bay has the greatest offensive line in the NFL, guys, because the Packers do not, as their quarterbacks hit the turf 42 times this year. But Green Bay certainly has one of the best pass rushes in the pros. 55 combined sacks this year. That's regular and postseason, including 8 so far in the playoffs in their victories on the road against Atlanta and Philadelphia. And Aaron Rodgers, you can talk about Tom Brady and everybody else, but Aaron Rodgers has been, I think, the hottest quarterback here the second half of the season. His last 9 starts, 22 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions. And remember, he's gotten that job done really without the benefit of a strong ground game. And yet, we've got to talk about the ground game for the Packers, because I like what they have done here with James Starks coming out of nowhere in the last two games against Philly and Atlanta for 48 carries, 189 yards. Now, truth be told, he had a much better big explosive game. I think it was 122 yards against Philly. But last week, what I really liked in last week's win at Atlanta, they kept giving Starks the ball. 25 times, in fact, even though he only gained 65 yards. The more you run, the more effective Aaron Rodgers is going to be. Now, the line is 3.5 points here. As you know, you should know what I'm going to tell you if you follow me regularly. You absolutely have to buy down the half point on Green Bay in this one. You're nuts if you don't. I believe firmly that you buy the half point whenever the line crosses 3, 4, 7, and sometimes 10. And to those naysayers out there that say, oh, why are you going to buy the half point, especially on 3, when it may cost you $1.30? Well, damn it. Listen, I've been doing this for 25 years. I don't know how long you've been betting. I've been betting longer than 25 years, and I guarantee you I have probably cashed the benefit of buying the hook either up or down on 3, 4, 7, and sometimes 10 at nearly 75% of the games that I have needed that hook to come into play over the past 25 plus years gambling. I know it works. Did I recommend you to do it last week with Pittsburgh? Sure, the Steelers came back and got the touchdown to give us the easy cover, but didn't you feel good? Didn't you feel confident when that was a tie game late that if the Steelers won it by 3, you would have walked away with the win last week against Baltimore? These are the things, listen, and the other thing you have to realize about buying the insurance, guys. If the insurance doesn't come into play, it doesn't cost you anything. So, again, you buy down the half point on Green Bay, even though it's going to cost you $1.30. I say the Packers win it. In terms of the total, everybody and their brother is on the under in this game. I have no opinion. I'll take a pass on that one if you don't mind. Next, we go to the Steelers game. Of course, the Steelers, a 3.5-point choice at home against the New York Jets. Now, these two met December 19th, and it was a must-win in that particular game for the Jets that day because they were coming off back-to-back losses to the Dolphins and Patriots in which their offense failed to reach the end zone, and they won it 22-17. The pace of that game, with the tone of that game, was set on the opening play when Brad Smith returned the touchdown, the kickoff, 97 yards for a touchdown. Now, Ben Roethlisberger was not spectacular that day, 23 for 44, but he was also sacked 3 times. But keep in mind, the Steelers did not have Troy Polamalu in there or tight end Heath Miller, one of Roethlisberger's most reliable and top weapons. Now, the Jets have just been a dynamite money-making play in the postseason the past 2 years, going 4-1 straight up and against the spread, and of course, they've gotten it all done on the road. The flip side, playing devil's advocate, is that, Ben Roethlisberger is 5-0 ATS when playing in revenge of the postseason, and he's 8-2 straight up and against the spread in the playoffs during his career. Which way do you go here? Are the Jets a team of destiny? I mean, it could be. We all watched them during that HBO special during the summer, right? And this team, even though they've had some ups and downs, they have certainly played lights-out ball against the Colts and the Patriots, especially against New England last week. Or do you go with the Steelers, another up-and-down team all season long, and lay the points with them at home? For me, this is going to be a 20-dime play. It's going to be my second biggest play of the year, of the past 3 years, in fact. As you know, my biggest plays have been 30-dime releases, and I'm 6-0 with them the past 3 years, including 2-0 this season. But 2 Sundays ago, I had my first 20-dime play, and it was the Ravens over Kansas City on the road. Do I take the Jets on the road today? Or do I lay the points with the Steelers? That is going to be my 20-dime conference championship game of the year play, and it's available right now. In terms of your total in this game, I think it's going to go over the posted price. Listen, the Jets have gone over in 13 of 18 games this season, including 9 out of 10 on the road. The only one they didn't go over was that Colts game at Indy a couple weeks ago. Steelers, I told you they would go over the total last week. They did. It's just a hunch. I think this one goes over the total as well. And again, you play Green Bay minus the 3 after buying down the hook for your other free play. Good luck, everybody, and I'll catch you again on Monday.